Memorial Board of Directors, I thank you for coming out today to learn more about the Brazos Valley Veterans Memorial. It's the only memorial I know that's dedicated to all our wars and to all our veterans. Its original purpose and still underlying purpose is to provide a dignified recognition of the service and sacrifices made by men and women of the Brazos Valley while serving in the uniformed services of this great nation. And we have board members here today. Ann Boykin is of course one, but then she introduced, pointed out some of the others. But after my presentation, the Brazos Valley Veterans Board Vice President, Fane McDougall, and other board members will show you around the site. My mission right now is to give a brief history of the memorial. And this memorial wouldn't be possible without the support of a lot of folks, to include the city of College Station, the city of Brazos, this county, Brazos County, and we are fortunate today to have Dave Rusnick, who is a College Station City Council member, here today. And so, Dave, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. The three municipalities I mentioned all still support our mission and support the board every year, and we really appreciate it, because although we work hard to raise money in other ways, it's been really a great thing to be able to count on a little bit of our funds from those three entities. So thank you. Now, the memorial is located on 12 acres in the Veterans Park and Athletic Complex, and we're in the large Veterans Park and Athletic Complex now. And this is the wonderful pavilion that is part of that complex. But the memorial over that hopefully you'll have the time to go see if you haven't, was dedicated on the 11th of November 2002. And former President George H.W. Bush was the keynote speaker. And every Veterans Day since then, there has been a very well attended Veterans Day program, and I'll have more on that later in my pitch here. Now, the memorial is located just south of the pavilion at the Lewis L. Adam Memorial Plaza. Currently, it consists of the park's centerpiece, and that's what I call it, which is an Army medic atop a huge piece of Texas red granite carrying a wounded soldier to safety. It's a bigger-than-life bronze statue that really tells a lot about the American fighting man and the woman and the way we are. Now, at this locations, when you go over there, visitors will find the names of, right now, 4,597 Brazos Valley soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen. Now, what's really neat, in my opinion, and I wasn't the guy that thought it up, when your name gets put there, like my name is there, and it just says Randolph W. House, USA. My brother's name is there, Glenn C. House Jr., USN. There's no rank. It's just your service, your name, and your service. And there's a kiosk that if you know your loved one or friend's name is there, you can go to the kiosk, put their name in the kiosk, and it'll tell you of the panels where to find your friend or loved one's name. The good news about those names is you don't have to be dead to be on it. And it's Brazos Valley, Soldier, Sailor, Airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman. And for a very small fee, $100, and that's almost the cost that it takes. Every year, the board coordinates and has more names put on around that medic that's up on top there with a soldier on his shoulder taking him to safety. The Lynn Stewart pathway, hopefully you'll walk along today, was completed in the summer of 2009, and it winds through over 1/2 mile of beautiful Texas woods and takes visitors by 18 granite markers with interpretive panels detailing America's 17 wars plus the War of Texas Independence. We had to have that one, of course. It's interesting about the 17 wars. If you go up on if you do a Google search or you do any of that, you can come up with more and different wars that people say are official than you can count. A lot more than 17. A lot less than 17, depending on where you go. What the board did, we went to the Carlisle Barracks, United States Army War College Center for Military History, and we formally asked them, how many official wars did this nation fight? It was 17. What was the official names of those wars? What was the official start date and end date? What was the official casualty count? What was the official thises and that's, all the campaign streamers? And so when you walk the pathway and you get to the interpretive panels that I'm going to talk about, that's all from the Center for Military History. And so if you have a war that you thought we fought and it's not there, you can talk to the Center for Military History versus me. The board voted to add the War of Texas Independence because it just seemed like the right thing to do. And that's one of our memorials that's already out there. And it's a big Texan with this big hat, high boots. He's carrying his musket in his left hand, and his right hand is behind him, and he's pulled a Bowie knife out of his belt. It's a classic stance, and it looks very Texan. Now, the long-term vision for the memorial is to have distinct memorials for each of our nation's wars, plus this War of Texas Independence. Currently, in addition to the centerpiece soldier on the massive piece of Texas granite, visitors will find the War of Terror Memorial, which was dedicated 31 May 2005. And it's the only memorial out there that's not a statue. It's really very interesting, and it's part of the metal came out of the Twin Towers, and it's, I think, most fitting. There's the American Revolutionary War Memorial dedicated on 1 July 2010. In addition to the Minuteman soldier that's standing there, the wall behind is a rock wall that you can just envision Revolutionary War soldiers kneeling behind, shooting at the British redcoats. That wall, those rocks came from Pennsylvania. The board was able to find a wall that was being taken down, got a trucking company to volunteer to go up there and bring the rocks back, and then the board one day went out and rebuilt the wall. And it looks like a wall built by people that don't really know how to build walls, but it's very fitting, and I would have you look at that. Now, the Texas War of Independence Memorial was dedicated on 1 October of 2010, and I've already described some of it. It's stuck in the woods with two big post oak trees that kind of frame it, and it really captures the imagination of what our the Texas veterans were looking at and looking like at the time. Now, and then last November 11th, Veterans Day, we dedicated the Korean War Memorial. It's called the Kapshida Memorial, which means we go together. And it's two soldiers. It's an American soldier with an M1 Garand pointed down the pathway. When you walk from the direction of the kind of the parking area, this American soldier's aiming right over the top of that Garand right at you. And to his flank and protecting his flank is a Korean soldier. And you can tell it's a Korean soldier. He's a Katusa, a Korean augmentation to the U.S. Army. And he fought with us as part of our formations. And he's carrying a little carbine because the Korean soldiers of the time, the Korean soldiers today are fairly big. They've been eating well. And they've gotten much taller and stouter. But at the time, 1950, the Korean soldiers were pretty small, and they preferred the smaller carbine, 5.2-pound carbine versus the 9.6-pound Garand. I would encourage you to, and then the rocks they appear to be walking by, the board put those rocks in. They were dedicated by the American Stone and Turf folks, gave us those rocks, and then we put the rocks on the ground as if the soldiers are walking up a dry stream bed somewhere in Korea as a point of a squad or something. Now, we have, with the great work of Faye McDougall, who you'll meet in a little while, we've got partial funding for a Vietnam memorial. We don't have enough money for all of it yet, but we're beginning to do the preliminary work that goes into deciding on what we want, but we've got it half funded, and so I think in the next year or two we'll have a Vietnam memorial soldier statue. And then we're hoping that in 2012 we'll be able to dedicate a statue for the War of 1812, because that'll be the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812. So the board has it on the agenda to find the money and get that memorial done by probably, I don't know when in 2012, but at an appropriate date. Now, I invite all of you to the World War II Memorial Dedication, which is scheduled for 7 December 2011, right out here along the pathway. 7 December 2011 is the 70th anniversary of the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, the day of infamy that began World War II. What you'll see this November is the first of 5 statues at the site. And the first statue that's going in is a World War II aviator. Now, you don't know if he's an Army aviator, Marine aviator, or Navy aviator, but he's an aviator, and you'll be able to tell that. And we're pleased that the former President George H.W. Bush, who was the Navy's youngest World War II aviator, when he was flying for the Navy, he was the youngest pilot. He's given us permission to use his likeness in the airman statue. And we've already seen, the board has already seen the clay recommendation of the artist, a fine young man from Navasota named Payne Laurel. He brought last week to the board of what he thinks he's doing, and it's definitely an airman. It's definitely, he has that airman's helmet, leather helmet. It's definitely former President Bush, 41, and he's looking up at the sky as if he's walking out to his airplane, and he's either checking the weather or he's checking to see if anybody's going to strafe him before he takes off. We anticipate this dedication ceremony will be most memorial And I encourage all of you to mark your calendars and plan to attend. For those that attended the Korean War Memorial dedication on the 11th of November, we're going to try to even beat that as far as having a really special. Now, I said this aviator, this World War II aviator, is the first of 5 statues, because World War II was, you know, such a significant event in our nation's history that instead of just having 1 statue like most of the memorials, or 2 like the Korean War, which was normal for natural for that situation, the 5, we're going to have a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a Marine. That's 4, and the 5th statue will be Rosie the Riveter. And they're going to be all standing there together, like, and the artist, we haven't come up with it all, but I can just vision, when you see the one, you can just kind of vision how the others will be placed there, and over time, as we raise the money, we'll complete that significant site with 5 statues. So that's the plan. Now, I would ask you to additionally please mark your calendar for our annual Veterans Day Memorial Program coming up before 7 December 2011 on the 11th of November 2011. Now, this program begins with Bill Yonkin, who I think many of you know, and he writes that wonderful article on Sunday where he interviews World War II vets and now Korean War vets. But Bill reads the newly inscribed names on the Brazos Valley Veterans Memorial, and that much of the time there's family members or friends or the actual recipient that's name has newly been inscribed this year, and we're talking a couple hundred every year now that we get put on the wall. And Bill asks, when that name is read, when he reads that name, that family or those friends or that principal, the person stand up. And so it's really a very moving ceremony, and that's the way our 11 Veterans Day ceremony starts, and then it ends in here. And we always have a great speaker in here. We've had our Texas state senators. We've had our Chet Edwards when he was a congressman, our 17th district congressman. We hope to get Bill Flores this year, and I see Bill Friday, and it's my mission to convince him that to be here to give that talk to us on the 11th of November. And we just had a great string of speakers and a great turnout. All these tables are full. The Aggie band is back on the high ground behind us. The Ross volunteers render the 21-gun salute at the end, and they're off to my left, your right rear. And it's a pretty moving ceremony, and we do it every Veterans Day. And I would ask you to, if you haven't been, to please come, but all of you mark your calendar to remember. Now, there is much, much more to know about the Brazos Valley Veterans Memorial than my short remarks today. But I hope that my presentation has piqued your interest. At this time, I'm going to turn you back over to the Exploring History Lecture Administrators for guidance on seeing the memorial led by Fane McDougall.